Have you ever felt tears forming in moments when everyone else seems perfectly calm? A small criticism, a touching story, a quiet conversation that suddenly feels overwhelming, and before you can stop it, your eyes fill with tears. Then comes the embarrassment. You wonder why your brain reacts this way, why you seem to feel everything more intensely than the people around you. You start asking a quiet question you rarely say out loud. Why am I like this? And over time, another thought slowly forms. Maybe something is wrong with me. But the strange part is this: psychology suggests the opposite might be happening.
If you cry easily, you probably know the pattern well. It doesn't just happen during sadness. Sometimes it happens during frustration, relief, empathy, even beauty. You hear someone describe their pain and you feel it almost inside your own chest. A movie scene hits harder than it should. A simple moment of kindness makes your throat tighten. And when it happens in front of other people, the self-awareness kicks in immediately. Your mind starts scanning the room. Are they judging me? Do I look weak? Why can't I control this? So you start doing something subtle. You begin editing your emotions. You hold things in. You suppress reactions. You rehearse conversations in your head to avoid getting emotional. Over time, this can start shaping your identity. You may see yourself as too sensitive, too emotional, too reactive. But psychology calls this pattern something very different. It often connects to a trait known as high emotional sensitivity, a nervous system that processes emotional signals more deeply. And that raises an interesting question. Why would the brain ever develop a system like that? The human brain didn't evolve to look tough. It evolved to detect signals. And emotional signals are some of the most important ones we have. People who cry easily often have a nervous system that registers emotional changes faster and more intensely, not because they are fragile, but because their brain is more emotionally responsive. In personality psychology, this often overlaps with traits like high empathy and high sensory processing sensitivity. In simple terms, your emotional radar is turned up. You notice things others miss: the shift in someone's tone, the tension in a room, the meaning behind a small gesture. And when your brain detects these signals strongly enough, it releases emotion, sometimes through tears. But this still leaves an open question. Why do tears appear so quickly for some people, while others rarely cry at all? The answer lies in how the emotional brain communicates with the body. To understand this, imagine your brain as having two major systems working together: the emotional detection system and the regulation system. The emotional detection system lives largely in the limbic brain, especially the amygdala. Its job is simple: notice emotional signals quickly. Meanwhile, the regulation system, mainly in the prefrontal cortex, helps interpret and manage those signals. Here's the key idea. Some people have a detection system that is more sensitive. Think of it like a smoke detector. Most detectors only react when smoke becomes obvious. But a highly sensitive detector reacts to the very first particles. That doesn't mean it's broken. It means it's tuned to detect subtle changes. When emotional signals are detected strongly enough, the brain activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and one of the body's natural release mechanisms is crying. Crying isn't simply sadness, it's a biological pressure valve. Research in behavioral psychology shows that emotional tears help regulate stress chemicals and activate calming processes in the body. In other words, crying is part of the brain's reset system. But there's still a challenge. If your emotional detector is highly sensitive, how do you live with it without feeling overwhelmed? That's where a few psychological principles become useful.
Instead of trying to suppress your emotional system, psychology suggests learning to work with it. Here are 4 principles that help. Number 1. Label the emotion early. What to do? When you feel emotion building, quietly name it. This is frustration. This is empathy. This is relief. Why it works. In neuroscience, this process is called affect labeling. When you name an emotion, the prefrontal cortex becomes more active and reduces limbic reactivity. In simple terms, labeling emotions turns down the intensity. Example: during a tense conversation, you notice your throat tightening. Instead of fighting the feeling, you think, "I'm feeling overwhelmed right now." That small label often prevents emotional escalation. Number 2. Slow the body first. What to do? Take slower breaths and slightly relax your shoulders. Focus on the physical body rather than the emotion. Why it works. Your emotional system and nervous system are deeply connected. Slowing breathing activates the parasympathetic system, which signals safety to the brain. Example: when you feel tears forming during a stressful moment, slowing your breathing can stabilize the reaction before it intensifies. Number 3. Reinterpret sensitivity as information. What to do? Instead of judging your emotional response, treat it like data. Ask yourself, what signal is my brain picking up right now? Why? Why it works. Cognitive psychology shows that meaning shapes emotional intensity. When you see emotion as useful information, the brain shifts from threat mode to curiosity. Example: if you feel emotional when a friend talks about their struggles, it may reflect strong empathy rather than weakness. Number 4. Choose safe release moments. What to do? Allow emotional release in environments where you feel safe. Journaling, private reflection, or talking with a trusted person. Why it works. Suppressing emotional responses increases physiological stress over time. Healthy expression helps the brain complete the emotional cycle. Example: instead of holding emotions all day, you allow yourself space in the evening to process them. The emotional system resets naturally. You can think of your emotional system like a high-resolution sensor. Most people's sensors capture the basic outline of emotional situations. Yours captures the fine details, more color, more nuance, more signal. Sometimes that sensitivity produces tears, but tears are not the problem. They are simply the brain's way of releasing emotional pressure. The real skill isn't turning the sensor off, it's learning how to interpret the signal without being controlled by it. For a long time, you may have believed something about yourself, that you are too emotional, too sensitive, too reactive. But psychology tells a quieter story. Some nervous systems are simply built to feel more, to detect more, to respond more deeply to the emotional world around them. And when that system releases emotion through tears, it isn't a failure of control. It's the brain's doing exactly what it evolved to do, processing the signals of being human. So the next time emotion rises unexpectedly, instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you might ask a different question. What is my mind noticing that others haven't seen yet?